Before we get started, if you would like to support future pack cracking videos and Magic Untapped in general, please subscribe to us here on YouTube and toss a buck in our Patreon tip jar. Also a shout out to Patreon supporters Lino Hernandez and Robert Talley.
Hey there Magic players, Barry White here from MagicUntapped.com and Magic Untapped right here on YouTube. I'm sure you've seen by now that Oathbreaker, the casual multiplayer format, is now an official casual format for Magic the Gathering. Now, for those of you who don't know what Oathbreaker is, like I said, it is a multiplayer format where each player builds around their favorite planeswalker, as opposed to Commander, where it's around a legendary creature. Each player's deck consists of 60 cards total. That's one Oathbreaker, the Planeswalker card, one signature spell, which is an instant or sorcery card that essentially that Planeswalker gets to cast, and 58 main deck cards. And this is a singleton format, aside from basic lands, of course. Also, just like in Commander, color identity matters. The colors of the symbols on the mana cost of your Oathbreaker, plus any mana symbols in its rules text, define your deck's color identity. Every card in your deck, including your signature spell, must only use symbols that also appear on your Oathbreaker Planeswalker. Of course, you can use colorless cards as well. And just like in traditional Commander, the command zone is in play in Oathbreaker. That's where your Oathbreaker Planeswalker and signature spell reside. And again, you can only cast that signature spell when the Planeswalker is in play. But after you cast it, it goes back to the command zone with commander attacks and you can cast it again. Now this format, which is played in a free-for-all format with each player starting with 20 life, is actually a lot of fun. And unlike Commander, the games won't last years. In fact, you can probably knock out an entire multiplayer game over a lunch break. And don't forget, you can find more information on the Oathbreaker website, oathbreakermtg.org. All that said, I have a few decks to share with you. Now these are not world-famous decks, these are not break-the-game decks. These are just our decks. And we're going to start with Catherine's deck. Catherine's Oathbreaker is Chandra Pyrogenius, which is a 5 loyalty planeswalker for 2 red and 4, with a +2 ability of shocking each opponent, a -3 ability of dealing 4 damage to target creature, and a -10 that deals 6 damage to target player and each creature they control. The signature spell that she's paired with Chandra Pyrogenius is Breaking Point, a sorcery for 2 red and 1 that can act as a Wrath of God unless a player has 6 damage dealt to them. The deck also has 24 lands, 23 mountains, and 1 Looming Spires, 9 sorceries, Lava Axe, Puncturing Blow, Fire Cannon Blast, Arc Trail, Fireball, Reckless Air Strike, Magmatic Insight, Sizzle, and Fight with Fire. For instance, we have Fiery Temper, Blur of Blades, Lightning Strike, Flame Lash, Fling, Dual Shot, Shock, Chandra's Outrage, Hanabi Blast, Lightning Blast, and Searing Spear. The deck only runs 2 enchantments, Raid Bombardment, and Pyromancer's Assault. It also runs an additional planeswalker within the 58, Chandra Heart of Fire, which is a 5 loyalty planeswalker for 2 red and 3. Finally, the creatures. We have Flameblade Angel, Sanguinary Mage, Renegade Firebrand, Ruinous Gremlin, Firebrand Archer, Manticore Eternal, Goblin Fireslinger, Pyrehound, Karplusan Hound, Nimble Blade Kenra, Mog Fanatic, and Scorch Spitter. So that does it for Catherine's deck. We're going to go ahead and move on to one of my decks, Liliana Untouched by Death. Now this Liliana is a 4 loyalty planeswalker, 2 black and 2, +1, you mill 3. And if at least one of those cards is a zombie, each opponent loses 2 life and you gain 2 life. A -2, target creature gets -X until end of turn, where X is the number of zombies you control. And a -3 that lets you cast zombie cards from your graveyard this turn. Signature spell is Living Death, a card that for 2 black and 3 exiles all creatures in play, removes all creatures from graveyards, and puts them into play, and then puts the exiled cards into the graveyards. Essentially, you want to fill up your graveyard with a bunch of zombies and do a switcheroo. The deck runs 23 lands, 16 are basic swamps, along with a Phyrexian Tower, Ebon Stronghold, Mortuary Mire, Memorial to Folly, Bottomless Vault, Bojuka Bog, and the Maze of Ith. You never can be too careful. Sorceries: Price of Betrayal, Chainer's Edict, Necromantic Summons, Army of the Damned, Demonic Tutor, I hear that card's pretty good, Ruinous Path, Yawgmoth's Vile Offering, Vicious Rumors, Ham the Torok, and Zombify. Only 2 instants in this deck, a Cruel Revival and a Hero's Downfall. 3 enchantments: Quest for the Gravelord, Zombie Infestation, and the Eldest Reborn. As for creatures, this being a zombie-based tribal deck, you can expect a handful of these, starting with Gurmag Angler, Diregraph Ghoul, Indling, Lord of the Accursed, Gravedigger, Undead Gladiator, Noxious Ghoul, Mikaeus the Unhallowed, Fleshbag Marauder, Sutured Ghoul, Festering Mummy, Nantuko Husk, Vengeful Pharaoh, Severed Legion, Josu Ves Lich Knight, Aphedo Vulture, Champion of the Perished, Headless Rider, Apprentice Necromancer, and Undead Warchief. And the final deck we're sharing with you today runs Tezzeret, Agent of Bolas, a 3 loyalty planeswalker for 2, a blue and a black. It's +1, you look at the top 5 cards of your library, you may reveal an artifact card from among them and put it into your hand. The rest go on the bottom of your library in any order. A -1 that animates an artifact, turning into a 5/5 creature permanently. And a -4, target player loses X life and you gain X life, or X is 2 times the number of artifacts you control. And as you might guess, this is going to be a very artifact-heavy deck. Tezzeret's signature spell is Thoughtcast, mainly because of its affinity for artifacts. It can really get around the commander tax on the spell, giving you a nice card advantage. Being an artifact-heavy deck, let's start out with those artifacts, shall we? We have Claws of Gix, Pithing Needle, Basalt Monolith, Mox Amber, Mox Opal, Chrome Mox, Icy Manipulator, Static Orb, Winter Orb, Thran Dynamo, Unwinding Clock, Commander's Sphere, Urza's Bauble, Hedron Archive, Cranial Plating, Lotus Bloom, and Weatherlight. Moving on to artifact creatures, we have Solemn Simulacrum, sad robot, Metal Colossus, Mimnarch, Hangerback Walker, Ornithopter, Traxos, Scourge of Krug, and Voltaic Servant. As for non-artifact creatures, of course we're running Urza, Lord High Artificer, Ethereum Sculptor, Trophy Mage, Herald of Anguish, Artificer's Assistant, Tribute Mage, and Sage of Lat Nam. The deck runs only 3 instants: Costly Plunder, Thirst for Knowledge, and Magnetic Flux. 3 enchantments are in this deck: Mirrodin Besieged, Phyrexian Scriptures, and the Antiquities War. As for lands, the deck only runs 2 basics, 1 swamp, and 1 island. As for non-basics, there's quite a few. Quicksand, Command Tower, Rogue's Passage, Sylvanite Temple, Shrine of the Forsaken Gods, Ebon Stronghold, Homeward Path, Reliquary Tower, Nephilia Academy, Seat of the Synod, Guildless Commons, Scavenger Grounds, Buried Ruin, Ghost Quarter, Vault of Whispers, Darksteel Citadel, Detection Tower, Interplanar Beacon, and Ruins of Oran Reef. So those are the 3 Oathbreaker decks that we happen to be running right now. Have you built an Oathbreaker deck? Tell us all about it in the comments section below. Thank you very much for watching. If you'd like to support Oathbreaker, again, check out oathbreakermtg.org. Also, if you want to support Magic Untapped, we have a Patreon tip jar on Patreon, patreon.com/MagicUntapped. And don't forget to like this video and subscribe to Magic Untapped here on YouTube. Thank you for watching.